I think good time we get started. While you look for it, Kriska, we'll get started with the obvious omissions from the Australian squad, and with that we will probably end with the discussion on the Australian squad. We'll probably end this episode. This is the final part of the episode. So, uh, Steve Smith dropped. Jake Fraser McGurk, big name, long name, whatever you want to call it. He's not making it to the World Cup. I would at least want him on the plane to be as a reserve somewhere, carrying drinks, doing whatever, washing clothes. But in case someone actually falls sick or something due to jet lag, he can at least make the 11. I think he is the Rinku Singh there, who just probably didn't make it. It's not just in the IPL. I think Fraser McGurk probably was fined, from the BBL. He had a really good season last time in the BBL, where he was actually touted to be the next David Warner, in terms of being fast tracked into the Australian team, in terms of being fast tracked into the Australian Test team, even, uh, you know, where without even having played much of first class cricket. So um, I think that's a big omission. And based on recent form, you would probably want to pick him than David Warner. But then that again brings us to the same kind of discussion that we have had with the India squad. Is David Warner a better brand to market a tournament in the US as compared to a newcomer like Jake Fraser McGurk?
His real salon is worth its weight in gold. So it's
Yeah, I
tough
think
on JFM,
given
but I
all,
I'd
think it's
actually,
yeah,
a draw.
I'd
also
actually say
given
that you guys
the
have missed out on a. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Given the fan base that Telugu movies and cinema has in the US, especially with the Telugu belt in the US, I think
RRR.
David Warner is actually a good sell than
Yeah.
JFM or anyone else in the team. So it's going to be the Australian selectors probably went with experience. But to be honest, I'm not surprised as an Australian fan by this squad, and I fully back them to actually go the distance in the in the tournament. Because if you look at World Cups, I spoke about this even before the 2023 One Day World Cup, and even before the Ashes. Australians hardly take a chance with big tournaments. They don't go with inexperience. They don't go with massive surprises. They go with a tried and tested approach. They go with people who can stand the pressure of a big match. And I think David Warner has shown us time and again how he performs in big tournaments and in big matches. And that's where probably I would agree with the selectors there. I mean, it doesn't matter if I agree or not, but then I think that's the mindset with which they have probably gone.
I also feel David Warner is going to regain his form. Aussies just have the knack of doing that in the international scene,
David
especially in
Warner is
ICC.
your out and out. David Warner is your out and out like comparison with Virat Kohli. Come the ICC tournaments, he's a different beast somehow.
Yeah,
Look at the T20 tournaments gone by. He was the player of the tournament for the last edition, the one where Australia won it, if I'm not
yeah,
wrong. Uh, he's an absolute force. And in the Caribbean pitches, I think he has actually a great back foot game against spin, which would be really, really good. Jake Fraser McGurk, yes, he did take down the spinners in the IPL, etc. But I think he still has that weakness against spin, which he has a lot of time to work on. He is very, very young. He's won too many T20 World Cups that are gonna come by. But then the thing is with Jake Fraser McGurk, you will have to understand that then Marsh cannot bat in top three. You'll have to. So Travis Head is undroppable. You'll either have to have him instead of Warner or Marsh in the top order. Marsh cannot bat below three
three.
because
He's our
he's
number
kind of disabled against spin. He needs to be facing as many fast bowlers as he can. And at five, ideally, you have Glenn Maxwell. So Jake Fraser McGurk needs to be in the power play. You pair him up with Head, then you have to drop Warner. But do you drop Warner in an T20 World Cup? Any World Cup? Leave the swan song bit out of it. Warner is very much like a bank when it comes to these ICC tournaments, much like your Kohli. The other exclusion that you guys actually missed out on, an even bigger exclusion than either of Jake Fraser-McGurk or Stephen Smith is Jason Barenroff. He is your out and out power play bowler. He's been doing pretty well for the limited chances that he did get for Australia as well. Now, if you look at like the squad's pacers, you have Pat Cummins, Josh Hazelwood, and Mitchell Stark, and your Adam Zampa. That's a quartet across teams. Uh, None of them are like out and out power play bowlers. Cummins and Hazelwood are very much middle overs operators. They may bowl in the death, but their primary skill is to operate in the middle overs. Stark,
Uh, I have
yeah,
to disagree. I think Cummins and
okay,
Josh Hazelwood are two bowlers who you can, you know, make them go toe to toe against somebody like Bumrah, and you wouldn't know a difference. They are all three bowlers world class in their right. I think Cummins absolutely will kill it. You give him anywhere in the 20 overs. Same, particularly for the Josh Hazelwood. Uh, they're elite. Like they don't come under this discussion of power play death bowlers. They are beyond that. It's as simple as that.
I'm
And
I'm
I don't think
sorry, but
Darren
I don't
Ross
think they are
warrants
the
a
same
place.
pedigree of bowlers in T20 cricket, especially as a Jasprit Bumrah. Bumrah, in all three phases, gives you very similar returns. Nobody can imagine the he goes under eight in the death overs, under nine in death overs, and he goes under eight in the power play. You can't have those kind of returns anywhere. Pat Cummins goes the distance at the death. He is not your out and out power play bowler. With his skills, if you look at under his own captaincy, he's been doing primarily hit the deck slow balls, your slower ball bouncers, etc. That primarily works in your middle overs when batters are like trying to get that
And
acceleration. It works really well. He does
and
not
Pat Cummins
have that.
never was
Uh,
just interrupting there. Pat Cummins never was a new ball bowler. Even when he began his career, throughout his career,
yeah,
mostly he
I
was always
see
first change.
Rehan's point,
Uh, yeah,
yeah.
but quality
There's a
makes
reason
up
he
for.
doesn't, despite being the best in the world in Test cricket. He is the first change for Australia. Stark and Hazelwood open the bowling. Stark does the, you could say that Stark does still have that ability to swing the ball, etc. All of that. Of the three of them, Stark is their best power play bowler. But I would say on form, Jason Barenroff uh, definitely should have warranted a spot in the 15 at least, if not the 11. Uh, and based on current form, even in the matches he played for Australia,
yeah.
he actually did pretty damn well in the power play. He was finishing games in the power play for Australia. He is that Trent Bolt kind of player. He can get you wickets up front. Uh, he deserved a place in the 11,
And
if not the
tall
15.
bowlers who can who can come in from that angle tend to do well in the West Indies, definitely. And while everyone's actually raving about this squad, I'm very optimistic, and I am actually backing this squad to go the distance. But
I wouldn't
uh,
say raving feels like a stretch to me. I think
yeah,
we are a lot more happier than, say, India fans in
yeah.
comparison. I
Of
think
course,
I'd
yeah,
put
but then my
What?
point is about the form in which that these guys are actually. If you look at the bowling lineup, uh, Zampa and Hazelwood carried us through the World Cup 2023. So uh, uh, Cummins is actually good on his better days. He can get you the crucial breakthroughs. It's like who else but Cummins kind of moments. Uh, but he can go for like 40 runs,
that.
35 plus runs at a minimum on a good batting track. He won't actually help you contain those. Secondly, you have Mitch Stark, and he's terribly out of form in the IPL. And Mitch Stark is someone who's more of a mentality bowler. I would say he's more of a confidence bowler. He's someone like Glenn Maxwell who needs a lot of confidence to actually perform well. And it's like a vicious cycle these guys get into. And this is based on just observation as a
Actually,
fan. I'm not going to talk about their
I'd
personalities
like
and
to
other
go
things,
into
but
the skill bit a little bit as well. You
yeah,
look at Stark's death bowling, it's really faded over the years. Even in the 2023 World Cup, he's not the death bowler he once was. There is a reason for that. You look at Stark's death bowling, he was primarily a Yorker bowler. Like his strength lies in the Yorkers. He does not really try and take the ball away. Like he doesn't go for the wide Yorkers to the stumps, and he was very good at it. But then the thing is, with today's batters, they're doing a lot of scoops and ramps and all of that. They started accessing the V behind a lot more. So your margin of error for Yorkers have been like greatly reduced. And without Stark
Yeah.
having his venom that he once did in terms of pace and skill, with that declined and the margin of error for his Yorkers declining as well massively, like it is very much a skill issue in terms of Stark's bowling. I don't think he can, like, even in his best of days, he won't return to what that
And
peak
and
white
that's
ball
what
Stark was.
probably brings Cummins into the picture, right? Because he's figured out this Yorker in the past couple of
Yeah.
years, and Cummins really has a potent, surprising Yorker these days, which he brings out of nowhere, which he has
It's
even used in Test matches.
more than having that Yorker, it's that like having the other options as well. For example, you look at T Natarajan. People asked why you don't have T Natarajan in the World Cup. Natarajan is heavily Yorker dependent. You can't be Yorker dependent. You need to have the other options as well. If your Yorker misses, it is very much a juicy full toss. Like Natarajan is a very skiddy, floaty type bowler. He doesn't have that like your hyper extension that a Bumrah does, or like even a Mohsin Khan does. Like you will get that bounce. Like he has that extra jump, so you'll get the bounce off of the deck. You hit the pitch hard, you hit the bat hard, uh, even in your full toss. That's why Bumrah's full tosses are harder to score off. Like there's a lot of full tosses that Bumrah bowls that people don't really score off. That's the reason, because it hits the ball hard, it hits the bat hard, and it hits it low. So you can't really score off of it, as opposed to your Stark or your as opposed to your Stark or your Natarajan. Cummins mixes it up well. His primary skill right now is that slower balls into the pitch. Yeah, Archit.
I think what I'm envious about from seeing Australia over the last few years is the greatest fast bowling trio that has ever played cricket. Stark, Cummins, Hazelwood. I mean, they've won literally everything, every format. It is absolutely insane, and it's not like the three batters who hardly get injured. They're three fast bowlers. Fast bowlers, we all know how prone they are to injury, and despite that, these three have done it everywhere. Now on Cummins, I love how Cummins reinvented himself in limited overs over the last couple of not couple of years, probably the last year. Uh, you either die a fast bowler on slow pitches, or or live long enough to see yourself become a Dorta Hua spinner, which Cummins has successfully done in the IPL, and also in the final of the ODI World Cup. It was a slow pitch. He completely changed his tactics, and he bowled like a running spinner, and he
Himself.
outclassed the Indian batsman. So I think that dynamism, that ability to change based on the kind of pitches, the kind of conditions, is what makes Cummins a great bowler. And then you have obviously your ICC great Mitchell Stark, and the most underrated of the three,
I
Hazelwood, who
also
who's excellent. I remember in Chennai Super Kings, and also I don't remember his stats from RCB, but he was excellent in Chennai Super Kings, and I'm sad that they let him go.
I also want to add this, right? This is where I absolutely love Australia's decision making. There is a reason why they made Mitch Marsh the captain and not Pat Cummins. Like we have seen how good Cummins is in both T20 as a captain and needless to say the 50 over format and Test cricket. Wow. uh, they know that they are not going to. This is to address what Rehan brought up, right? They know the glaring flaws these grades might have, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on Nathan Ellis here. I feel like he will end up rotating a lot, especially with Josh Hazelwood, and he's a world class death bowler. He's probably Australia's best. It would allow either Cummins or
No doubt about it.
get out of the
Your two
team
best
playing them.
T20 bowlers in that squad is undoubtedly your Zampa and your Ellis.
Yeah. So now we would have been liable, like how India is forced to field Rohit Sharma in every game, regardless of the form. Australia is not
Yeah,
going to have that issue.
really smart and intelligent selection, that like
Absolutely.
selection in terms of captaincy. You won't be really forced to play captain Cummins in every match, and that way it gives you the flexibility to bring in Ellis whenever you need. And I think in most matches it would be probably Ellis for Hazelwood swap, in case Hazelwood gets a side strain or he's tending to get injured a lot more these days because of heavy workload in test matches and across, because he's the only all format reliable bowler for Australia. So maybe a swap between Hazelwood and Nathan Ellis is more likely than a Cummins and Ellis. But I do agree that Cummins can also be swapped for Ellis in that case. Starc has this advantage of being a left armer, so sort of becoming an undroppable unless things change and he goes for a lot more runs. Cummins versus Hazelwood and Ellis, I would think that Cummins can just more than bat, right? So he can do that. So gives you the advantage of
And
batting.
I'd like to criticize you. Everybody talks about Australia's bold selections, etc., all of that, right? But Mitchell Starc is kind of that selection, your Virat Kohli kind of selection, your legacy kind of selection. Because based on current form, both international or like your IPL performances, he's not really been best 50. Even if you wanted that left arm angle, you would have had the Jason Behrendorff
Berendorf.
coming in, much better left armer, purely on current form or on skill at this point of time.
Even
At
Spencer
this point of
Johnson,
time, I'm
for
not
that
talking
matter.
yeah, even Spencer Johnson, not very bad option either. But
Yeah.
I'd say Behrendorff like pips him in terms of the bowling hierarchy. But
Yeah.
yeah, Mitchell Starc is that
I have
legacy
a
call.
question for you folks.
He didn't
Yeah.
go on.
Sorry, Rihan, you can finish your thought.
No, just like people's talking about like people's bold Australia calls,
No,
but
I
they
think
actually
at
have
this
made a
point
very
it's
similar call
just
to India.
copium from Rehan. We have such a balanced, stacked squad, especially in the bowling department. He's just nitpicking.
In all honesty, barring Rinku Singh, so do India. We'll get a billion unhappy fans no matter. Even if you selected Rinku Singh, people will find faults with that squad. It's actually a
That is
near
true.
perfect squad. That is
Yeah.
India.
I have a question for Kandalf and Kriska. Who's going to be the fifth bowler, or who's going to fill the fifth bowler's quota? Will it be partially Stoinis, partially Maxwell, or does Green come in?
You're leaving the 6'7" giant in the room.
Greeny.
Cam Green.
Does Green get in the 11, the first 11?
Yeah, Green
Yeah.
definitely gets in the 11. I think he's a sure shot. Tim David, Green. So let's probably look at the 11, right?
Let's look
Let
at
me
11, right? Yeah.
bring the squad picture up back again. I think David Warner, Travis Head opening, Mitch Marsh first drop. Everyone agrees,
Yeah.
I guess. And then
Yeah.
post that is where the entry points will differ based on what stage of the game we are in. So it could be after that, it could be Josh Inglis, Maxwell, or Green, depending on who's coming. So that makes it like 5-6, and then Tim David, Matthew Wade at 8. That's a deep batting lineup.
So Matthew Wade at
And
8.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Matthew
if
Wade
English,
are Akshar Patel, basically.
yeah.
So
So I'm just wondering if Matthew Wade will play as a non-keeper. But given the age and time in his career, probably Inglis would play as a non-keeper, and Wade would prefer being behind the stumps. I mean, good
you'd
good
pick
way. He has
Stoinis
done that.
over the two? So you'll pick the
That's
keepers over Stoinis?
Yeah, that's purely because Cam Green does that role well for them. Cam
Okay.
Green can do Stoinis' role, and there's Mitch Marsh, if he's fit enough, can give in those 2 overs in a very similar role.
I think Mitch Marsh takes care of what Stoinis
No,
brings
but
with the bat, while Cam Green
Yeah.
takes care of what he brings with the ball.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
who are your 5 or 6
actually,
bowlers?
I'd beg to differ.
Yeah,
Please.
please go.
Sorry. Okay, I'd beg to differ because Stoinis and Cam Green are vastly different kind of bowlers. Cam Green, off late, he's started that short of length bowling, hit the deck sort of thing. He's working more on bounce. Stoinis is predominantly out and out your cutters, slow balls, etc., all of that stuff. And
Tota
also
Hoskinen.
English, he is a top order batter. Him playing that low, I don't think he has that hitting ability. They're going to play one keeper and Matthew Wade at 7 because you need your bowlers as well, right? So they only are going to have one of the two. The other is just an injury backup. Every team is going to have two keepers. English is just very out of place that low in the order. I don't know if Cam Green will start. I don't think I feel the same way. Cam Green is probably a backup because he can work very well as a top order backup. He can work as a decent middle overs backup and as an all rounder backup as well. But I don't think
Yeah.
he has the same pedigree of bowling in T20 cricket as a Marcus Stoinis does have on those West
Interesting
Indian
because
pitches,
Marcus
I would
Stoinis
say.
does have variations. I agree. Cam Green is more of a non-variation Jack Callis kind of hit the deck bowler.
I
Uh,
think
I totally agree with that. But one point on Inglis. Inglis did not open the batting for Australia in the One Day World Cup that happened. He predominantly batted in the lower middle order.
middle order,
So
yeah.
and he showed us that he's also very much ready to be adapting to situations. We saw in the semi-final against South Africa, and he's pretty good against decent against spin. He's not the best player of spin, but he's decent against spin. So you never know in case Maxi and Inglis, they are, we spoke about Shivam Dubey and Virat Kohli being partners. Maxi and Inglis or Maxi and Tim David, these guys could be pretty lethal towards the last 7 overs
I
or
think we
so.
can go back and answer. These folks do have a point. I think we just named like 12 players in our squad in our excitement. But I do think
There's
Cam
no
Green.
impact player.
Oh, really? I just assume because the richest and the most popular league in the world has.
Yeah, but I think in all honesty and looking at it practically, Kriska, good call out that we were very overexcited.
Yeah.
I think one of Inglis or Wade
Ashton
would
Agar
probably
is just
play. Yeah, one of Inglis or Wade would actually play as a keeper. Wade will probably be the backup, just like he's now for Gujarat Titans, I think. Saha is the keeper, right? First choice. So Wade would be the backup, although Wade helped Australia win the win their first ever T20 World Cup. Very instrumental.
I would say
Um,
Inglis would be the backup because purely in terms of hitting ability,
Yeah.
either of them, like whatever keeper they play, they're going to be playing at like 6 or 7. I don't think they're going to play higher up than that. And
yeah.
in terms of hitting ability, I would say Wade outshines Inglis. So I'd say
Hmm.
Wade starts, and you're going to need a strong SLA in West Indies, if not in US. And I think that's where Ashton Agar is going to come into uh, the thing. So Ashnegar and maybe Stoinis interchanging between the two.
Yeah. And
And I think
that's why I like this squad because Chris, I'll just finish this point. That's why I like this squad because I feel that most of them can actually bat. Like Ashton Agar can bat. It's almost like except Josh Hazelwood, who also can bat a bit. I think we almost
Sampa.
have a full power packed team, and that's exactly where Steve Smith missed out because he really can't really fit into this squad.
the
We're
fact that we
almost
have badly touched Steve Smith's absence
yeah,
shows how sorted this squad is. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
agree with Rehan. I think Wade might just get the nod ahead of Josh simply because of the SLA point he brought in, right? Every team is going to
yeah.
have an SLA, and him being an aggressive left-hander that will really help out Australia. And I think Cam Green gets a nod ahead of Stoinis because he's just versatile. If you lose Mitch Marsh, he can just come in and do that number 3 or number 4 role uh, to get Australia out of the tricky
His
situations.
long
I feel
levers
he's
will help against spin as well. I'll give you that.
You guys just like Cam Green, like just the idea of Cam Green, like he's the next Jack Callis. He should be there in every format.
He's the future.
He's the future. He,
We have a player like Cam Green in every generation who we hear from the background all the time. Like Michael Clark was one, and then came
yeah.
Steve Smith, and then now it's Cam Green's turn. So
No
And
doubt about the
I'm
fact
glad
that he's
Steve
going to
Smith
be
is
a
not
three
there.
format batter.
Sorry, go. I couldn't
No,
catch you,
you go
Rehan.
on, go.
I was saying that there can only be one Bradman in the T20 World Cup, which is Rizwan, according to Shaheen Afridi. So I'm glad there's no Steve Smith.
yeah, so let's wait for the Pakistan
Yeah.
score and the rest of it while it comes. But overall, I think let's close with this with final thoughts. I think this is a great squad. Squad on squad, I feel that Australia has a slight edge on India's squad. The two squads that we discussed today. Although is definitely not a bad squad at all. It's
It's
a
simply
decently
because it's very balanced. You know your 11.
exactly. Yeah, and
Guys,
the same applies
guys,
for Australia squad.
we
The
talk about
Australian
we talk about India, Australia squads and everything, and like South Africa is slowly cooking in the side. They have
yeah.
like some batting
It's
power.
okay. Let them cook.
We'll, we'll,
We'll take them out of the
yeah.
kitchen when it's semi-finals time.
Yeah, when it's semifinals, they'll know
Netherlands.
their place and we'll know our time. And I think this Australian squad also reminds me to an extent of how England used to be, where everyone except James Anderson could actually bat, and that's the kind of batting depth which will probably decide where this World Cup would actually go. And Australia, South Africa, these are really insanely talented batting squads with good mix of all-rounders as well. So who can bowl in their high 140s.
I would argue that more than batting depth, mentality will be the difference between teams, and that's also why I rate this Australia squad higher than the India squad. Just like how I compared India's squad with Spain's, Australia has always reminded me of our fierce, ugly rivals, Real Madrid. They
Yeah,
simply, for them, going far in the knockouts in tournaments it's just a habit, and all these players out of form, be it Glenn Maxwell or Mitchell Stark or even David Warner, like they will have forgotten IPL as soon as they land in the US and West Indies.
yeah, it's a
And
different mentality once they get into a world tournament. So yeah, I think that's what would matter.
And
that
that's
makes me
that's,
Bang on.
very
that's what will clinch it.
cautiously
If
optimistic
if
about this.
if India has that fearless mentality in the tournament, especially with respect to strike rates, then I don't think you can stop India. And India did have that in the one-day World Cup, barring the final, where we got scared and doctored the pitches.
Right,
But
sir.
All right, let's get to those controversial topics on another episode. But thanks a lot, gentlemen. Thank Kriska, the
Yes.
Bantofu, and Bibli Dobler for joining us for discussing India and Australia squads in detail.
Gandalf, I do want
Where
to call out. I think we
Mhm.
ended up doing a really long episode, so there is a good chance that we might end up splitting this between the India squad and the Australia squad in the next couple
Absolutely.
of days.
I
If
think
somebody's
if we had the time and chance, we would have probably spoken for another hour. So we'll definitely split these episodes up and put it up there for your viewing. We definitely think that the other squads would be coming up in the same week. So we'll get there when it comes, and we'll discuss the rest of the squads as we go towards the 2020 World Cup. Bye until then. Subscribe, share, like, and wait for us.